blacks are the chosen race, what about white people?
I would have to ask you that. What about white people?
I'm asking. We're both human beings. Blood that runs through your veins is equally as red as the blood that runs through mine. Do you think you're in some way, shape, matter, or form superior to me?
Of course.
You are. So all black people are superior to white people?
By God's own ordination, yes.
Mm-hmm. Then why in our society, for example, is the black race or African Americans experiencing so many problems that they're experiencing?
Well, you know the answer to that, and the...
No, I don't know. That's why I'm asking the question.
The cynical tone in your voice doesn't erase the fact that you know. It's due to the wickedness of white America. White people all over the world, white people all over the world have gone into the house of black people, brown people, and red people, robbed them of a knowledge of self, taken their land over, renamed the land, colonized them, enslaved them, and put them under their yoke and way. So whites are in the superior position, no matter what the social, political, economic, or religious order, because of the wickedness and the underhandedness of the white man the world over.
Sir, but not all white people are evil, wicked, or endorsing. Sir, I have never enslaved any human being. Let me finish my point now. I've never enslaved any black person in my life, nor would I endorse that or support that. I certainly look and view the slavery or the history of slavery in this country, for example, as evil, reprehensible, against the will of God in our society. Many white people fought for the freedom of slaves. Many people risked their lives, as did Harriet Tubman, during the Underground Railroad, to see to it that that evil was changed in our society, and I think that was a good thing. I think when you look at the marches of Martin Luther King, white, black together marched for equal justice in our society. Certainly, you're not going to impugn the whole race of white people, are you?
What I am going to say after such a strong statement is that whenever there is any sign of what even appears to be righteousness and that which appears to be a spirit for justice and fair play and fair dealing, I am not one who would blanketly criticize that. If indeed that is your spirit and your personality, and if indeed you can point to many others who are that way, then certainly I would respect that.
Then why should I have respect for you if you don't equally respect me in that vein, if you look at yourself as far superior to me?
I am not one who would just look at myself far superior to you, but let me point this out to you. White people, you should be having this show with one of your own. White people teach that they are the father of medicine, the father of music, the father of history, the father of philosophy, the father of the sciences, the father of all of the disciplines of the world. I think that is a very ethnocentric and a very racist, white supremacist view. They teach us that angel food cake is white, devil's food cake is black. You wear white to weddings and you wear black to funerals. It's not good to lie, buddy, but if you must lie, it's all right if you tell a little white lie. If one is the black sheep of the family, blackball you, blackmail you. If I go to the pool room for a little game of pool, you got a white shiny ball on the table, knocking the hell out of the black ball, the brown ball, the red ball, and all of the balls of color, and the worst ball on the table is the black ball. If I go to church, you've got a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pale-skinned white Jesus, when the Bible says that Jesus is a man with nappy hair and black skin. So white supremacy runs throughout every phase of white society the world over. So my position on this show this morning is not to establish some grandiose and way out black supremacy, but to fight white supremacy and meet it head on.
And do you think most Americans, especially white America, is racist and against you to the degree that you're...
Of course, most white Americans
What percentage would you say?
The United States government boasts about the fact that it is a government where the majority rules and the minority has to go along with the majority.
So what degree of Americans...
And so if you have an overwhelming majority of white folks who are so fair and good-hearted in America, why haven't your overwhelming majority of white folks stepped forward to do something about the wretched condition of black people here in America?
Oh, haven't we made some strides and turnabout? No strides since 1960, none at all.
No, let me say why I mean that.
I would like you to explain that.
During Reconstruction here in America, there was a civil rights bill passed at that time. Black people held all kinds of political positions, and it looked like a period of political a turn after slavery for black people in this country. There was even a voters' rights bill, and all of that was passed. But when white folks got sick of that, they blocked the doors of Congress. They drove black people out of all the political positions. And so 100 years after that civil rights bill, another civil rights bill had to be formed and fashioned. Now we're debating and arguing with George Bush over the voters' rights bill. We already had one. That means it wasn't worth the paper that it was written on. Look at all the treaties that the white man signed with our brothers and sisters, the Red Indian. Treaties that would wrap around the globe and then some, and broke every treaty that he signed with the Indians. We can't trust that anymore. Can't trust it.
Let me ask you this. Why is it then that so many, let me ask you a question. Why is it then that so many African Americans today are making it in an inclusive society? Why are they becoming successful? Why are they prospering if America were as racist as you're describing it today? I'm talking about mainstreams like Oprah Winfrey, the multitude of talented black African American athletes in our society, the talented African American business people in our society, the Colin Powells, the Arsenio Halls, and the list, the Bill Cosbys, the list goes on and on and on. Are these all Uncle Toms? Have these people sold out? How would you describe and categorize these successful blacks in our society?
These are very God-gifted and very talented black people. But they are also, Mr. Hannity, exceptions to the rule. They do not reflect, nor do they represent the poor, suffering masses of black people.
Well, why aren't you there? Why aren't you there helping them instead of creating this animosity and hatred and race divisiveness?
We create no animosity and hatred.
It's not animosity. You're not creating animosity to white people listening to this program when you arrogantly step on your high horse and say that you're superior to whites?
I'm not concerned with what white people think about what I'm saying on your program, nor am I concerned about what you say and what you think. But let me point this out to you.
Yes, sir.
Over 20 years ago, President Lyndon Baines Johnson organized the Kerner Commission. And the Kerner Commission, this prestigious pristine presidential commission, was to go out and study throughout America and determine the main problems in America dealing with the races. They came back with conclusive proof to the president and to the White House that the number one problem in America today is white racism. They said there are two major situations here. Two Americas, one black and one white, separate and unequal. 20 years later, today, the Kerner Commission has reconvened, and they say that the problems of yesterday are worse today than they were yesterday. It makes no difference that black people are mayors and that black people are public elected officials. The masses of black people are still catching hell, and if our condition is worse, in spite of all of these, what appears to be surface window dressing gains, then it really means nothing.
Oh, so these people are just flukes, just very talented people that have
Well, I'm not going to sit here and let some devil attempt to put me in a position
I'm a devil?
where I'm criticizing my own people.
Am I a devil?
You're attempting some devilishment on this program.
I'm
a devil?
You
want me to speak against my sister Oprah Winfrey. You want me to speak against my brother Bill Cosby.
No, sir.
You think I'm some lightweight, so you want to push me in a corner to say something against them. That is a devil who would try that.
Oh, so I'm a devil.
You're acting like one. Are you one?
Devil. No, sir, I'm not a devil.
Well, don't act like one. So I'm not acting like one.
No, sir, let me tell you. Let me tell you, sir, I admire the talents and abilities and the contributions of African Americans, wherever they might come from. See, my vision, sir, of America is far different than yours. As you see, I see this.
It should be.
But what I see, I don't think so. I think America is meant to be an inclusive nation where all people can prosper and be successful.
It didn't start out that way.
Well, if you let me finish my thoughts, I allow you to speak uninterrupted here.
Certainly, go right ahead.
What I'm trying to point out to you is that if America is going to be inclusive, if we're going to create this avenue or window of opportunity for all people, what I would like to see, instead of the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or some of the racist bigotry that you're spewing on the program today, I would much prefer that we see black, white, decent, good, wholesome Americans that believe in values that are strong, family-oriented, that will keep this nation strong, going forward, working together, and becoming successful. You don't share that vision. You would much prefer the separatist vision.
Would you like for me to speak on what I do feel, rather than you be my spokesman?
I'll tell you what, as soon as
Are you my national assistant?
Would you like me to be?
No, sir.
Considering I'm a devil, you wouldn't want that to happen. We'll take a break.
I wouldn't want a devil as my national assistant.
I'm a devil. We'll come back. We'll talk more with Khalid Abdul Muhammad. He's a national assistant to Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam. And we'll open up the telephone lines this morning as well. If you'd like to be on the program from Huntsville, all of Madison County, 830-2277, 830-2277. Toll free this morning if you're on cellular 1 at star 770. And you can join us from Limestone County, 232-3911. WVNN News Talk time now is 10:20. We'll take a break. We'll come back. More of the Sean Hannity Devil program coming up next, right here on AM 770 WVNN. Now, good morning, and thank you for listening to AM 770 in the Sean Hannity program. Some categorize this as the Devil's program as we talk about the issues each Saturday morning, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday. You can join us 2 to 4 in the afternoon as we have our in-depth dialogue and discussion about the issues of the day. Khalid Abdul Muhammad joins us, National Assistant to the, you don't like to call him Reverend, but to Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of
Minister
Islam.
Louis Farrakhan.
Minister Louis Farrakhan. And we're talking during the break that you find it interesting. What do you want for the Nation of Islam? You want a separate nation, is that right?
We want freedom and independence, however that can be achieved. If indeed white people are willing to go through the painful and painstaking process of mental and spiritual and moral and ethical change, then indeed we as black people, since we've been here in America, we have fought for many years to be included in the mainstream of white America. Now we have determined that as God's hand is stretched out of judgment against America, that we must do something for ourselves and we must build a nation of our own. That is not to say that it is to be a nation so separate until we want to rule over white people. We have no desire to rule white people. We want to express Kujichagulia, or self-determination over our own destiny. If we have a hospital and white people are ill or need attention, they would be welcomed into our hospital, and we wouldn't use them as guinea pigs the way they use us in their hospitals today. If you need a loan and you're qualified and you came to the black bank, we wouldn't redline the districts the way you've done against us. If in our political structure we wouldn't set up gerrymandering and all of the redistricting in our system, we would have fairness. We could never treat white people the way they treated us, because God just didn't make us that way. He just didn't give us that kind of heart.
Let me ask you a question. If I were to say all blacks were drug addicts because of the actions of the few, would you find that offensive? Because there are black drug addicts in our society.
I don't find anything offensive that white people say.
Okay,
but if it would be all right with me.
Okay, let's say a black person said that. Would you find that offensive?
No, sir. If a black person said that, I would know that they have been robbed of a knowledge of self. They've been brainwashed by your people, and we would take the time and the love and give some care and sensitivity to the situation to try to open their eyes.
Well, the point I'm trying to get to here is that bottom line is the way you talk about white people, you put them all in this one category as if they're all racist, they're all against black people. You're imputing the character of the white race.
I believe that there are some white people who do good.
You do?
I believe that I don't know if they are good, but I do know that there are some white people who do good. But let me say this, you've got to understand the sensitive nature of this. When white people came to America, they didn't just come in showing open hatred for the Indian and just killing Indians and mowing them down. They came in smiling at them, winking at them. They pretended that there was loving, caring, and sharing. The Indians taught them agriculture, taught them of their customs and ways. They even intermarried. But as soon as the Indian dropped his guard and the white man learned the ways of the Indian, they destroyed the Indians in a mass genocide plot. Now the original owner of this nation is selling moccasins and blankets on a reservation because they trusted the white man. When the white man came to Africa, he didn't just come in killing black people and showing open, bitter hatred. He came in as a friend and a sincere advisor. He came in and we rolled out the carpet for him. We gave him the best of our society and our world, and now we are held captive as slaves inside of America.
So the blacks and the Indians and the minorities in our society of angels of light and the wicked white people have always decimated any other race besides themselves. That's what you're saying?
I told you, if you're not my national assistant, you're certainly my Huntsville spokesman.
I'm your Huntsville spokesman.
I couldn't have said it any better than that, Sean.
That's your viewpoint on that.
That's your viewpoint, and I like it.
You like that?
I like it.
It's not my viewpoint, though, because what I hear in you is somebody who's extremely racist, biased, and bigoted. And you know
I'm not extremely racist, biased, and bigoted.
Well, you are not racist.
You cannot compare me with the Klan.
I certainly could. Absolutely.
No one has ever enslaved the Ku Klux Klan or David Duke or the skinheads. No one has ever robbed them of their name, their language, their religion, their culture, God. No one has done anything to them.
Let me ask you a question. How long are you going to stay in the past? How long are you going to stay in the past? When are you going to move forward?
In the present. I just gave you the report from the Kerner Commission. We also have here the National Urban League State of Black America. Jet Magazine just did a study that was done across the nation after 28 years. How much of Dr. King's dream has come true? And studies are being done all over. But if you're sitting here in a one room in Huntsville, Alabama, sitting behind a microphone being cynical and racist and bigoted every day, then you don't know what reports are out there in the world.
You're saying
I'm in another city almost every day.
What city are you in? Oh, you travel around the country every day?
All over, but I'm from New York.
You're from New York. That's where I'm from. But the bottom line is, I want to ask you this. Why is it then that some African Americans are making it in our society? They're very talented. They're making contributions. Why do you impugn the character of them? Why not talk about the opportunity? I have never impugned the character
of them. That's your devilish way to attempt to say that that's
my devilish way.
That's what it is.
So this is incredible. Let me ask you this. What do you think is going to be the future of race relations in this country? You think we're going to have race wars? And are you going to be at the heart of it?
Oh, what kind of silly little childish question is that?
I'm asking if you think whites are the devil and they've done all these terrible things. Do you want to go to war against the white people?
I believe that there are some whites. I don't know how good their heart is, but I do know that there are some whites who do good.
Do you think that whites can get to heaven?
Some whites. I know that there. Let me finish my point. I know that there are some whites who are standing up against their own people for the injustices that have been perpetrated against black people and dark people throughout the earth. But I can't trust them the way the Indians trusted them, the way my forebears trusted them in Africa. Even if I closed my eyes, I could never close both eyes. I'd have to always keep one eye open.
Let me tell you something, sir, because I am an Irish American. My grandparents came here from Ireland in the early part of this century at a time when in Boston and New York and in Philadelphia it said outside of almost every shop, Irish Catholic need not apply. Within my family history, there is a large degree of racism and hatred and bigotedness that my family had to go through.
That's white-on-white crime.
Okay, and there's plenty of black-on-black crime in our inner cities today.
Nothing to compare with the millions that white people have killed in their major wars.
And you are blinding yourself to the truth, sir.
The white mass murderers, the white serial killers, and the Gacy's and the...
And black selling each other, black selling other blacks drugs and shooting each other's and drive-by shootings and Crips and Bloods.
Robbed of a knowledge of self by white people.
Oh, blaming white people for their problem. Blaming white people for their problem.
When you take a people and completely destroy them, what else do you expect? Nobody ever destroyed you, but you murder millions of people and drop bombs.
I've never hit anybody, sir. I've never dropped a bomb on anybody, sir.
You're trying to drop bombs on this radio
sir, I'm not trying to drop bombs. You're just
too light.
You're bombastic little statements of devil.
Come on out with it.
What's about? You got a problem? You're getting upset. You want to calm down?
Come on out with it. You're just stumbling and fumbling.
I'm not. You're an ignorant fool.
We are ignorant fools, if I'm one, because you are certainly complimenting me.
But
I came in the spirit that you're giving me. I attempted to talk to you in the hall.
To
get you to turn this volume down. To let you know what my true spirit is. But I said you continue to conduct yourself as a devil. And I said to you, as long as you do that, that's what you'll get from me.
Let's go
now, if you want a more intelligent conversation and exchange, I will give you that.
I'll tell you what, why don't you talk to the caller?
Sean is a devil. I will, but I said that Sean is acting like a devil on the program, but he is one.
The whiter...
Sean is a devil. He just said I'm a devil. You think I'm a devil, Todd?
I don't think so. But listen,
I mean, look, if I'm the devil or if I'm the epitome of evil, so you should...
I don't believe you're the epitome of evil.
I'm just
You're a lightweight devil.
I'm a lightweight devil. I'm a lightweight evil devil here, so...
Interracial marriage, sir.
No, sir.
Are you against that, Todd? Do you believe interracial marriage is wrong, morally?
Well, I don't think it's wrong.
Let me ask you, what do you think about what the Khalid Abdul Muhammad is saying on the program today? Do you find it offensive? Do you find it shocking? Do you think he's going to be at the forefront of a major racial war? Are you going to be? Do you think he's going to be at the forefront of a racial war in our society? What do you think about the hatred that he's spewing?
Well,
I'm spewing love for my people.
yeah, but
I'm not necessarily anti-white. I'm pro-black.
Hatred towards the black race.
I'm against anyone who's against us, sir.
I'm not against you. I would like to see you being included.
Why don't you conduct yourself much better?
Sir,
on
why
your
don't you
program?
stop calling me a devil and evil and all these things? I think we'll get along a
acting
lot
that
better.
way, I will stop calling
Sir,
you.
by your definition, it's a devil, sir. I don't go around calling you a devil. I've treated you respectfully on the program.
Of course you have not.
That's a lie. Todd, what do you think? Do you think this type of hatred, do you think that's going to create animosity between the races? What do you think about African Americans?
Todd, have you heard hatred? That's the question.
Todd, have you heard hatred?
Did you hear me say that we don't want to rule over white people? We just want to rule ourselves?
Did you hear him call white people evil?
I called you evil.
You also called white people and impugned the
Well,
whole
you're a
white race.
representative of the white race today.
And every white...
And a poor one at that.
Every white person is a representative of the white race, and according to you, they're all
Of course,
racist.
all are representatives, and some attempt to conduct themselves much better than you are today.
What do you think about that, Todd?
Well, I tell you, he says that that the black race is superior and intellectually, superior to suppressed. I really don't believe that.
Who's superior, Todd?
I don't think either one are superior.
Nothing is equal in the universe, Todd.
So he thinks blacks are superior to whites. Do you believe that?
We're the father and mother of civilization. We're the father and mother of music and science and law and government and mathematics and morality and ethics. We're the father and mother of the disciplines of the earth, but now the history books and the textbooks all are lying that the white man has put out there.
So what you're saying is that black people are just oppressed
and lied on.
If you relieve the oppression, then they'll rise above.
Well, the white man doesn't have to relieve the oppression. We're not asking him to do that. God is going to take the oppression and bondage and the yoke of bondage that the white man has placed on us off of us. We don't want to give him that much power that we have to sit around and wait for the white man to remove the oppression from us.
Todd, thanks so much for the call. We appreciate it. Abdul Muhammad, as we talk with this lightweight, devilish talk show host, Sean Hannity. Back to the phones we go. Bill from Huntsville, you're live on AM 770. Hello.
Hi. I'm white, and I'm a pastor of a church in Huntsville, and we spend a lot of time, lots and lots of time out in the streets of Huntsville, in the housing projects, and the streets deal a lot with young black Americans, and I feel in my heart as a Christian, as a pastor, that God really wants to do something amongst the black race. I see a lot of, just as Mr. Muhammad, as that his name says, I see a real breakdown in the home, a breakdown in the family, a total collapse. And I think personally the problem is illegitimacy. The problem is a moral collapse, and what I see as a Christian and what God is calling people to is taking responsibility for their lives. And the Bible calls people to repentance, not pointing the finger at other races. And I feel as a pastor that that the only reason that the Nation of Islam and demagogues like that have any voice at all and any power at all is the failure of the black church to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ in the neighborhoods and in the streets. And if they would do that, and call black people to take responsibility for their lives through the power of God, that the Nation of Islam would have no authority and no moral voice at all. That's what I feel. That's all I really got to say. If he wants to address that or answer that, he can.
Okay, would you like to address that, Mr. Muhammad?
No, sir. We can get to the next caller.
I appreciate that. We got to take a break. We'll come back. One open line, 232-3911. If you'd like to be on the program today, 232-3911. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Good morning, and thank you for listening to AM 770 in the Sean Hannity program. We're here live Monday through Friday, 2 to 4 in the afternoon, Saturday, 10 a.m. till 12 noon, as we talk about the issues of the day. Khalid Abdul Muhammad joins us, National Assistant to the Minister Louis Farrakhan. And we're taking your telephone calls this morning, 232-3911. Reverend Farrakhan has said on occasions that Judaism is a gutter religion. Do you believe that?
Said Minister Farrakhan has never said that Judaism is a gutter religion.
I heard it myself on Bill Donahue.
No, you heard it out of context. What he said exactly, I was present. He said, now that nation of Israel has not had any peace in 40 years and will not have any peace as long as it is structured on injustice and as long as, in paraphrasing, a people have been displaced and dispossessed from their homeland. He says, while you shield your dirty religion. Now, what he was referring to, sir, was he never mentioned Judaism anywhere in the entire speech. He never said Judaism. He never mentioned it. He was saying that if the world of Christianity would practice Christianity, the world would be a better place rather than professing it. As the gentleman said in a convoluted way, the previous caller, if the world of Islam would practice Islam and not just preach it, the world would be a better place. If the Jews would practice Judaism and not just preach it, the world would be a better place. So he was saying, your practice is different from what you profess and what you preach. They preach Judaism, but they are practicing their own dirty gutter religion. If they embraced Judaism, then the principles, the moral principles and precepts of Judaism as revealed by Moses in the Torah would make the world a better place, but that is not what they're doing.
Let me ask you a question. There was a journalist, his name was Milton Coleman, and if you remember, he was the one who put forth the statement by Jesse Jackson.
I remember it well.
Hymietown. And he was angrily labeled Uncle Tom by Mr. Farrakhan, and he and others...
He is a Tom.
He is an Uncle Tom.
Of course he is.
Because he told the truth about a statement made by Jesse Jackson.
He violated the canons of journalism, and he violated the sensitive and very close and intimate relationship that a personal friend has with a personal friend. It was said off the record. It was understood that it was off the record, and then he didn't even have enough courage to leak it to the press under his own byline. He did it under someone else's byline. I would say that not only is he a Tom, but he's a hypocrite, and he should not be considered a friend because of the serious violation of that.
So if he tells the truth about a statement made by a public figure like Jesse Jackson, you consider that Uncle Tomism?
However you want to word it, sir, I've made my statement.
Okay, I have another question. I'll tell you what, why don't we go back to the phones. First, we'll check in with Chuck from Tony. You're live on WVNN and the Sean Hannity program. Good morning.
Hey, Sean, how's it going?
Good. Great time this morning.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Muhammad, I have a question.
Oh, yes, sir.
Mr. Muhammad, you don't think he's bigoted against white people?
I don't. I'm not going to make any comments on that. I just have one question for him.
He's like an intelligent man, unlike you, Sean.
I'm an unintelligent, uninformed, devilish, lightweight talk show host. Go right ahead.
Calling in for some serious dialogue. You obviously don't want that.
No, of course not.
Okay, I think that some of the points that Mr. Muhammad made certainly have some validity, and perhaps if I was from that culture, and like he was saying, where people came in and were exploited, I would feel the same way. But what I would like to know is he made a statement that the white man had robbed the black man of his history and of his culture and of his God and everything, and I imagine that he would say that the white man did a pretty complete job of that. Is that so?
Yes, sir, he did a very thorough job.
A very thorough job. Okay. Well, then what I'd like to ask is, if that's the case, and the history has been totally obliterated, how do you assert that the statements about being the father of medicine and the father of culture and all this things that you're claiming that the Afrocentric type of thought, where does that information come from? If the white man had done such a thorough job of obliterating it, there's obviously wouldn't be any records of it.
No, sir. You're misunderstanding the process.
Okay.
What we have to understand here is that we're looking at America, and we should see America as a room. And the slaves are here in this room, between these four walls, robbed of their name, their language, their religion, their culture, their God, their folkways, ways, and norms. But nothing was changed outside of this room. The manuscripts are still there. The Mebdu Neter, or the holy writings, or the hieroglyphics on the walls, still there. The texts from the ancient writings are still available, but they were not made available to the slave inside of America. If the slave were caught even reading, the slave was beaten severely or killed, or his tongue was cut out. Anything that showed the slave beginning to reach out, as Dr. Haley pointed out in his great work Roots, which was just a mild version, any sign of trying to learn and to hook back up with our ancient past was destroyed inside of America. But now we have black people that travel all over the world, scholars and scientists who are digging at the manuscripts and in and out of the great temples of higher learning and enlightenment of the world and reading the hieroglyphics, and this wisdom has come to us, and also God has raised a man in our midst, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and now the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Let me ask you a question. Can white people get to heaven? Do you look at that as a possibility?
I don't know, sir.
I'm asking, does your religion teach that in any way, shape, or form?
What do you mean?
Can only black people make it to heaven is what I'm asking?
We believe that any person that performs a righteous deed, that God does not ignore the righteous deed of any doer, no matter what their color is. We believe that God is more interested in the righteousness of the person than in the color of the person. It just so happens, sir, that white people have been the number one perpetrators of all of these things that we have mentioned on this program.
Have you met many
throughout the earth?
Have you met many righteous white people in your life?
I haven't met one, sir.
You haven't met one?
Not
in your entire life?
Would you like to introduce me to one? I would be happy to meet one.
I think you're looking at one, but you think I'm a devil, so that's okay.
If you can find one anywhere, I'd be happy to meet you.
You've never met, and most black people, are they righteous in your view? Most of the ones you've met?
All black people are righteous by nature.
Oh, okay.
So this is learned behavior. These are the circumstances of 400 years of slavery, suffering, and death. These are 400 years of being manipulated and destroyed as a people. This is not the true nature of black people.
So the black people are righteous and the white people are devils?
Well, everything that is in the hands of black people to do evil with, white people put it in their hands. The guns you make, the drugs come in on trucks and trains and boats and planes. We don't even have a canoe. We're failing chemistry, most of us, because you didn't let us read for a long time, so we're not the ones making up all of these drugs.
Well, the one thing that we're not doing is we're not lighting the pipes and we're not injecting it into people's veins. There's a personal choice that you totally negate.
No, sir, there's no personal choice when you robbed me completely of a knowledge of myself and made me deaf, dumb, and blind.
Take away all responsibility for your own life.
Took it all away because for 400 years on the plantation, the slave had no responsibility.
We're going to live in the past
slave
forever.
condition, well, that is according to the leading psychiatrists and psychologists, there's a carryover today in that psyche and that thinking. The problem is not with the crack, Mr. Hannity. The problem is with the cracker.
And what about the person that takes the match and lights the crack, be he black or white? He doesn't have any choice?
He's a deaf, dumb, and blind person who has been robbed of a knowledge of self.
So a righteous, deaf, dumb, and blind black person that does that is a fool.
As the pastor said earlier, in a convoluted sort of way, this is a form of illegitimacy. This is a people who have been strayed from the way of God and who have been robbed of a knowledge of self. So they have to be made whole again because this society has corrupted them.
What a great thing. Take away all responsibility for your life. If you're lighting a crack pile, blame the slavery argument from 400 years ago.
The problem is with the cracker.
I think the problem is the lack of taking responsibility for one's life. If you light that crack vial, that's your problem, and you can blame white people all you want for that, sir. Nor would I, sir, and I would encourage everyone not to. Chuck will give you a final thought here. We're going to move on. Any other thoughts today?
Yes, I understand Mr. Muhammad's viewpoint on being robbed, so to speak, of culture by certain European powers. But I think that he should also maybe consider the fact that during that time of, if you would, European exploitation
still exists,
of the world, that certain countries who were in the business of exploited not only blacks but other whites and Asians, and that was just a period of exploitation. And
by white people, is that correct?
I beg your pardon, sir?
Was it by European white people?
There was, in the, quote, age of discovery, certainly there was, between Spain and Portugal and
black
the
slave
Netherlands
traders
and
as
Belgium
well.
and England.
No black slave traders, no arrogant white man was going to buy slaves from another slave. He would take that slave who was trying to sell the slaves and all the rest of the slaves.
But what I'm trying to say, sir, is that over in, let's say, in Eastern Europe, let's say in Poland, okay, there was a movement of the Germans, the Austrians, and the Russians.
Yes, sir.
And they moved into Poland and they dismantled the country. And they robbed that people of their culture.
White people robbing white people.
Certainly.
Yes, sir.
Certainly. And there were wars in Africa where black people would exploit other black people.
Well, a war is different from slavery, colonialism, and exploitation and misuse and abuse.
Well, if it's a quote unjust war, if it's a war of exploitation, then it's exploitation.
Exploitation in any color is no good at all, sir.
Right. Okay. As long as we're clear on that it's not.
We're just talking about the number one robber, the number one raper and lyncher and liar and exploiter.
And that is the white person.
Yes, sir.
Continues to this day. We're going to move on. Chuck, thanks for your call this afternoon. We appreciate it. Jolie from Hartselle, first-time caller. You're live on WVNN and the Sean Hannity program. Good morning.
Yes. I only have really one thing to say.
Yes?
I think that both of you need to calm down and talk like civilized people.
I'm civilized. I'm not calling another person a devil and evil and a lightweight.
I
Yes?
understand that, but listen, the only way anyone can get along with someone else is to let them say their piece. Everyone has their own opinion on everything. Okay? I think another thing that I noticed is both of you keep on saying you people for all the whites and you people for all the blacks.
Blessed are the peacemakers, Jolie, huh?
No, listen. It
Yes?
doesn't matter. Everyone is a human being. Everyone is equal in my
Yeah, great. Let me
belief.
tell you my vision for America, and I'd love to hear Mr. Muhammad hear this. I would like to see in our society African Americans, white Americans, Irish Americans, Italian Americans, those Americans, the National Association for the Advancement of Good and Decent People that want to see this country move forward and live together and work together and start businesses together. Make America what it could be, a city on a hill, a beacon of light shining across the world. Those people that fight for the good values that families can get along and races can get along, that we can be successful, that we can end the drug problem. I would love to see these things happen, and I don't think we're ever going to get that way if we're blaming other people for definitely injustices of the past, which I agree with Mr. Muhammad about. I'd love to see the progress go forward. I'd like to see all racism end. I'd like to see people's hearts changed. And I'd also like to see this country work together in an inclusive manner. But this type of anti-white rhetoric, this calling white people devils.
I just called you a devil this morning.
Well, you just said to this audience that only black people were righteous and that white people historically were evil.
I called you a devil because of the way you act.
Okay, I understand that. So I'm just saying I share a different vision. I think we should, as Martin Luther King said, judge people by the content of their character, because there are decent members of all races, in spite of him rolling his eyes and throwing his hands up in the air here. But that's my vision, which is certainly different than his.
May I express my vision?
Yes, sir.
I, too, sir, would like to see all of those things. Black people, since we've been here in America.
I mean, you agree with the devil. You better be careful here.
No, sir, I'm not agreeing with the devil. Those are my convictions before I met the devil this morning. I have always, and black people have always wanted to see that. That's why we faced your tanks in the streets. That's why we faced...
They weren't my tanks, by the way. Thank you very much.
That's why we faced vicious police dogs in the streets.
I'll tell you what, hold your thought. Jolie, we appreciate your call. Thank you for joining us this morning. We got to take a break for the news. We'll come back. We'll continue. We'll talk more with Khalid Abdul Muhammad, and he's the National Assistant to the Minister Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam. One open line, 830-2277. Stay tuned. First, we'll get the latest from this afternoon at the Von Braun Civic Center, 2 p.m. today. And the title of, I guess, his talk is going to be In Christ All Things Are Possible, and a Bible Revival for Black Survival. And, I want to ask you a question, because there's got to be at least 15 bodyguards with you today. Basically, you surrounded the building. Do you feel there's a threat against your life?
No, sir. I believe that security is prevention. Security is being so on top of a situation until you discourage even the thought from coming up in a would-be assailant's mind. It's not being so good until you can handle something if it happens. So if the President of the United States of America could be shot, if the Pope could be shot, if Dr. King, if Minister Malcolm X, if Dr. King's mother could be shot at the organ in the church, if the airports have had to take security precautions now, we just believe that it's a good security measure.
You mentioned Malcolm X just a moment ago. What are your thoughts on Malcolm X? There's been a revival of support for Malcolm X in our society. I've recently read his autobiography. We're talking about a guy for the better part of his life who was a drug pusher, drug dealer, pimp, prostitute. The rhetoric as you spewed on the program today, where I think you can take the good message here and spread the gospel and raise up this inner city of children, or this group of inner city of kids today, to the point where they can be successful. They can become the Arsenio Halls, the talented athletes, the Colin Powells, and the Reverend Farrakhans and the Jesse Jacksons of the future.
Well, what we must understand is that at Arsenio Hall or Bill Cosby, if we are to look at a Spike Lee or an Oprah Winfrey, that is dependent upon white acceptance. White people must accept them and must allow them in. They are very talented, but there are many, many other black people who are equally, and in some cases, even more talented.
Absolutely.
But white people only allow one or two token blacks in who will serve certain purposes. I was attempting to give my vision just before the news break.
Sure, go right ahead.
And certainly I share with you, as many black people would share with you, that we have always wanted to see all of the races get along together. We have always wanted to see that kind of egalitarian society established, where there is loving, caring, and sharing, and where that abounds in the atmosphere. But as we look at it now, we can see that no matter how we faced tanks and dogs and troops in the streets to keep us out of high schools, to keep us out of colleges and away from public accommodations, then to give us so-called civil rights and then turn around and take the civil rights gains back.
Right.
Now black people are beginning to come to the point where we want to just do something for ourselves
And I support
and
that.
let white people go on and
Okay.
do whatever the hell
I
they want to
understand.
do.
Why then, for example, let's take any...
Please like and subscribe.